Hey friends, this is Dr. Hazel-Grace Yates, and I'm super excited to be here with my friend and colleague Alice Hong, who's currently in Switzerland. We just did the virtual intimacy retreat together, and you facilitated womb wisdom. Hi, Alice, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. I love sharing time with you, virtual time, in-person time, all of it. So thanks for, yeah, sharing more time and space together.
Yeah, I know that since you and I met years ago at Burning Man, we both had this like sense and desire to want to do things together. And who knew that the pandemic would be the thing that would actually bring us together? And we're gonna be doing Bear It All, which is a program that we're creating. Tell me, what are you most excited about with this thing that we're bringing forward called Bear It All for people who identify as women?
Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to first echo what you just shared about since we met. I've just been so, I just loved meeting you from the first moments and super pumped that we get to co-create in this way. And for me, I think one of the things that I've been the most inspired about you, and then therefore what we're co-creating together, is really like Hazel-Grace, how you come forward with this energy of bear it all. Like I, in your presence, always feel like you are bravely you and
Mm,
authentically you and joyfully you. And you have this capacity to really speak to what's alive in you, even if you're shaking, even if it's tender, all of it. And so when we were coming up with the name for this workshop of Bear It All, it felt so perfect when we landed on that, because I feel like that's so much about what you birth into the world and what I birth into the world around creating really not just safe, but like brave spaces for people to show up in the ways that we may have been hiding before or been
mm,
too afraid to really reveal about
mm.
ourselves.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you named that part that I show up and shaking, because I think that's the misconception that people think about me all the time. They're like, "You're so fearless," and I'm like, "I'm the exact opposite of fearless. I am courageous as fuck because most of the time I am scared." And there's a way that it's like, all right, for me, I'm willing to be scared in service of other people, knowing that it's like not just for me, it's helping other people. And it's like it gives me permission to be scared, and to be scared in community, and to be scared in group. Um, and what we're calling forward with this Bear It All is people who identify as women to talk about the things that we've been trained or conditioned to not talk about, or trained and conditioned to hide or suppress or to be quiet within ourselves. And one of the reasons that I wanted to work with you is your work that you've been doing around women's work. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing and how you see this adding, kind of like adding to what you've already been cultivating?
Sure. Well, I think one of the most, for me on my own personal healing journey, the thing that's been the most impactful for me is showing up in spaces, and many of the spaces that I work in is women identified spaces, although not limited to by any means. But there's spaces hmm, where it is encouraged and even celebrated to be in our vulnerability.
Mm,
And what I mean by that, or the feeling tone behind vulnerability to me, is the places where we may have been, like you said, conditioned to not speak about something, So in what I'm inspired by your work is all your work around healing sexual shame on this
mm,
planet. And I know for me, growing up, as for so many women identified people, for so many human beings in general, our sexuality is something that's not talked about. And so where and I think many of us learned about that, like how to be in our sexuality, how to care for our bodies, was this skewed lens from which we were only taught by the media, or things that weren't really like a healthy and reflective of of really what's happening for people. And so when we move into these spaces of vulnerability where it's encouraged, celebrated to say, hey, what is really happening for you? Like, how do you feel about your body? How was it the first time that you had intercourse? How was this? And actually get to the essence of what really truly happened. I started to realize, and I see this in a lot of people that are in these workshops, start to realize, wait a minute, this thing that I thought was so terrible, that was so horrific, that I could never say to anybody else because I'm too embarrassed to or too ashamed to, actually is not so terrible, you know, or not something that I actually need to be ashamed about. And in fact, a lot of these things, when you hear enough stories, which I know both you and I have, you start to realize, actually, this is quite a collective story that's happening. Yes, there's unique individual characteristics, but then there's also a collective story that's happening that we're all living in and swimming in.
Yeah, totally. Which it's like, I feel like I'm revealing something hearing you share that. There's a part of me that's like, um, a lot of the times the formula for the work that we do is very, very simple and basic. We all come together and say, we're going to choose to create a space where we're all accepted for how we are. And let's just start sharing our stories and our experiences. And it's very, 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 very simple, right? There's nothing super complicated about a lot of the stuff that we do. And it's so powerful and so healing and so magical, because then all of a sudden we realize we're not alone. We're not broken. We're not wrong. We're not bad. We were just told or taught by culture or other people that if we do these things, we're wrong and bad. And we come together and we're like, oh my gosh, we are so human. And it's so liberating. And it's so quick sometimes, how those programmings can get unwired together when we come together, in this like shared intention of love, care, support, and liberation.
Mm.
So
Mm.
simple, not easy, two different things. It takes a lot of courage to show up in these spaces. And I know that it's easier for me to show up in community with other women, as well. So.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, for Bear It All coming up soon, this Sunday, May 24th,
Mm-hmm.
from 9:30 to
12:30 Pacific time.
12:30 Pacific time. I keep on getting all of these time zones mixed up.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I just want to share, like, for anybody who might be listening to this, I remember because the name in itself is bold, right? It's called Bear It All. And I love that the title is super bold because it gives this radical space of permission for us to be as we are. And I also want to share that, like, if for anybody who might be like, wow, like I'm super intrigued and excited, but I also feel terrified as to like what this might mean to bear it all, that there is space for you to come and, like I always say, like your presence is your participation. Always share as much vocally or not, but just your presence there is your full, you know, your full presence in the workshop. And so sometimes even just by listening and feeling and being a part of that field, so much starts to shift and awaken inside ourselves.
Yeah, I love that you are naming that. And it's such a common experience where I'll have many people come to the workshops that will say, I will show up and I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to share my story. I'm not going to talk. And oftentimes what happens is they feel the connection and the safety of the room, and they feel safe enough to share. So everyone's participation level is totally welcome, and I love that you named that, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And we're also introducing a new economic paradigm too, which is this choice of a really wide range to say that we understand that right now people are in all different kinds of levels, and so we want to empower you to choose the level of contribution that is in your alignment, which is really exciting for us to play with this new economic paradigm together.
Yeah. Right. So to frame that, like, I know there's so many workshops out there that are kind of the sliding scale of like, I mean, we had this conversation before of like $20 to $30. And we just wanted to open up the vastness of possibility that nobody will be turned away because of finances at all. If you have a full yes to being with us, then we have a full yes to welcoming you with wide open virtual arms. And to also not like put a cap on, you know, what you want to come forward with in your economic and energetic possibilities. So
Yeah, so beautiful. I love you so much. I know you have a class soon, and we'll be in touch. We'll see all of you bearing it all on Sunday.
sounds
Mwah.
good. Post the details in the
Mhm.
comments below.
Yes, I will.
Okay.